Hello, Gaston County. Welcome to episode number 187, we think, Amber, right? It is 187? Okay. This is the Gaston's Great podcast, highlighting some of the great things happening in and around Gaston County. I'm your host, Stephen Long. We're coming to you once again from the international headquarters of GSM Services right here in downtown Gastonia. We simply believe in discussing more of the reasons why Gaston's great. We are highlighting another great organization this week as we have Richard Rankin and Elizabeth Patton here to talk about the Gaston Community Foundation. Richard is the president of the foundation and Elizabeth is the vice president. And we had the Community Foundation on way back on episode number 2 in early 2021, if you can believe that. So it's been over 5 years. Richard and Elizabeth, it's great to have you on and welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
So as usual, we're going to get right to it. And Elizabeth, I'll start with you. So just for our listeners, tell us just a little bit about yourself, anything you'd like to share before we get into some info about the foundation.
Well, thank you, Stephen. It's an honor to be back and talking about why Gaston County is such a great place to live, work, and play. I am a Gastonia native. I now live in Belmont and have called Gaston County my home for pretty much my entire life. My husband, our 2 children, and our dog are in Belmont, and we just love this community so much. I have enjoyed being at the Community Foundation for 13 years now.
Wow.
And I know. Back when you were on the board, Stephen, I think you were there before I was.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
It's a wonderful organization, and I've served in almost every capacity at the foundation now, and it's just a place that I can truly call home as well.
So I've known Elizabeth for a while, and she's very humble, and she left out one very important thing.
Yes, I did graduate from NC State. Go Pack.
How about a little applause or something over there? Yeah, there we go, a little clapping.
Yes.
There we go.
This is our year. I can see it.
Yeah. How many years have we seen that? All right, again, thanks, Elizabeth. Richard, what about you? What can you share for us?
Well, like Elizabeth, I am a native. I grew up in Mount Holly, and my family's lived here for many, many years. In fact, I still live on family property that was the old Rankin Farm between Mount Holly and Stanley. My working career, I was at Queens College as a history professor, and then as head of development. I was vice president of development and admissions before coming back in 2001 to be head of school at my alma mater, Gaston Day School. And I was there for 22 years and really proud to be part of a team that I think made Gaston Day an even better school. And then I retired from there in July of 2023, and I went ran a hunting and nature preserve in South Carolina for a couple of years. I was down there in the week and home on the weekends, and got a chance a little less than a year ago, but almost a year, to come back and head the Gaston Community Foundation. So that's what brings me here and brings me back home.
All right, now the highlight of your career in life today on the Gaston's Great podcast, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Stephen.
Okay.
And the chance to talk to you, Stephen, might be the highlight.
Gosh,
too.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So, listen.
Only one thing could be better than talking to you, Stephen.
What's that?
Talking to Joel.
Oh, boy. Maybe we can, we can edit. That's good. We can edit this podcast, and we might just, be like these old martial arts movies where we'll dub in something differently over that comment with some strange voice. But listen, I appreciate that, Richard. And similar to Elizabeth, he's very humble about the things that he's done and accomplishments. But I'll mention some of that maybe before we finish. But I appreciate that very much, except the Joel part. So we might have some listeners. Of course, I have to remember I've been so involved in community and involved, Frank, on and off with the foundation for so long. I'm just so ingrained with it. I can take it for granted that everybody knows about it, right? And that's probably just not the case. So I'll throw this question out to both of you, but kind of just real quick, share what is the mission of the foundation. If people want to go hear a really detailed history, I would encourage you to go back to episode number 2, because I think we covered that. So we're probably not going to cover that today unless you want to touch on some of that. But what is the mission of the foundation? And then we'll kind of get into initiatives and then what's been going on in the last 5 years since you guys were last on.
Yeah. Well, I'll start, and then Elizabeth will give you the right answer. The mission of the Gaston Community Foundation is to promote philanthropy, and that's kind of a fancy word. We promote charitable giving, and we promote promote not-for-profits in this community. And so we promote giving. And we sometimes describe ourselves as a charitable bank. People park money with us that they then get a tax write-off for and make donations to not-for-profits. That's one thing we do. We also grant money to not-for-profits in the community. So like a bank, money comes in and money comes out from us. And we try and promote not-for-profits in all sorts of ways through education. And so we're trying to make Gaston County better through promoting giving to not-for-profits and supporting not-for-profits. Now, Elizabeth,
That's pretty good.
Tell me what else.
Surprisingly good.
Thank you, Stephen.
Richard gave a great description. I will say one of the things that has changed since we've been here is we went through a new strategic plan, and we redid our mission statement, and it is to inspire generosity, uplift nonprofits, and connect donors with community needs. So really everything Richard just said, but we're really excited about that mission statement. Again, a key piece of that being the uplifting nonprofits, because that's such an important piece of what we do. I find that we have initiatives that really range cradle to grave. We want everyone to have the opportunity to give and be involved in the community. It starts with a program called Teens Changing Gaston County, which I think, Stephen, you're very familiar with.
I am, yep.
And that allows teens in the community all across, so homeschooled, private school, public school, they are able to participate in a program where they learn about the nonprofits serving Gaston County, the ones that are doing the heavy lifting here. From there, they're able to provide grant funding to nonprofits in the community. So they have $5,000 that they distribute into the community, but the grant application has to be written by another teen. So really it's teaching philanthropy at an early age to these students. And then we have the Next Generation program, which I know Stephen is very familiar with.
Yeah, that was my original introduction to the foundation, yep.
And most people, that really is how they're introduced to the Community Foundation. It's a giving circle, which means people come together, they give funds to pool their money, and then they provide grants in the community. Over the history of Next Gen, I think we've granted just over $200,000.
That sounds right.
And the program started in the year 2000. So we're very excited about where Next Gen is, but also just the opportunity it provides to people to give back in the community, to learn about nonprofits, and know that everyone has a place here.
Yeah, 26 years ago, my wife and I were charter members of that group, so I guess we were 10 when we when that started. So I think I appreciate the Next Gen thing, because I think for me the best thing about that was understanding what a group of individuals could do without having. I guess when I was younger, I thought philanthropy it had to be this grand thing by individuals, and it is, but it doesn't have to be that, right? You can get started and exposed to it and understand what can be accomplished, without some, big number, so to speak, right? And because that can be a little intimidating,
Well, the word philanthropy is intimidating.
Yeah, right.
It's
it
giving.
Is, yeah.
We are giving to the community,
Correct.
and that's what we are here to help facilitate and guide and lead.
All right. Yeah, that's very good. You getting ready to add something, Richard? Or
I did think the only thing I thought about is our size. We have about $165 million invested from various funds. Some of those are donor-advised funds where individuals give us money and then they get a tax write-off and they give that to not-for-profits. Some of it, people will leave bequests. They will leave large estate gifts that they either allow us to give away to whomever we want, or they designate the organizations that they love that then go on in perpetuity. Their funds supports maybe their church, maybe the Boy Scouts, whatever it is they designate. And then we also have not-for-profits that park their excess money, the cash that they've acquired, and we invest it for them. So,
like First United Methodist Church.
Correct,
Yep.
Their funds are with us. And then Richard, since joining us, even though it hasn't been a year yet, has had 2 really big partnerships that he's brought into the foundation. Richard, would you like to share?
Well, I will, and Elizabeth, that is something of an exaggeration. I certainly was involved, but it was a team effort, and it included a lot of people, including you. But we are very excited. We've gotten what's going to be the largest gift in the history of the foundation. The U.S. National Whitewater Center has established a special agency fund, and they're giving us $11 million.
Oh, wow.
And $11 million is a significant gift. The Piedmont Council of Scouting in America, or of America, has also moved their endowment to us recently, and that's $5+ million. So we have had a number of really large, extraordinary gifts that have come in recently, and there were a lot of people involved in making that happen. I think about the chair of our investment committee, Chris Peak. Gene Matthews was important in those in securing those gifts. So it's a team effort, but we are excited that we've had some large recent successes. So there is some momentum.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And I'm trying to think, I mean, I could be off, but it seems like my first involvement with the board seemed like it was in the $50 to $60 million range, probably. You know, and then I remember when I was on the board, we set that $100 million goal maybe that year or the next year. So wow,
I remember that as well, Stephen.
Yeah, so it's nice to hear the progress there. Another thing I meant to mention with a big impact for me being involved with something like the Next Generation Fund. So at the time, I think we talked about this a few weeks ago when we met. Joanne Newcomb was the advisor, to the Next Gen when I was there, yes. And then I got on. I was on the committee. And then my wife and I were chairs of that group for 3 years, and then it was Suzanne Whiteside. So for that period of time, I got to interact with those two ladies who really could set the example on what it means to serve the community.
Yes. Right.
Not just financially. So that's just another example of what can happen when you get involved in these type of organizations, but specifically with the Community Foundation, right? And then when I was on the board, holy moly, the people I got to just be around, right, and listen to you, Andy, Dr. Sadler, just so many individuals, and especially Dr. Sadler, who was my high school principal. Mm-hmm. I remember walking into that first meeting, I was like,
you were scared, weren't you, Steve?
Yeah, I said, I don't know that I can do this. Or I don't know that I can be on a committee or a board with Dr. Sadler.
You were scared he was going to talk about some of the things you did in high school.
Maybe, because he had inside knowledge, yes.
He knows everything.
He had inside personal knowledge. That's kind of a byproduct of getting involved in some of these things, right, for young people that I didn't realize at the time. I didn't realize
great people.
Yeah, I didn't realize
and
what
Stephen,
I was going to get out of.
You are that person to a lot of us, and I remember thinking,
That's
who is
scary.
This board member who writes a thank you note to everyone else on our board, who writes a note acknowledging everything that someone achieves in this community. To this day, I think you're the only one that I've known of that has been doing that.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think.
But I do think belonging to a community that you're talking about, meeting other people who you admire, who care about this community and are willing to invest in it, I do think that's a strength of becoming involved in the Community Foundation, whether it's Next Gen or Teens Changing Gaston County or serving on a board or a committee. You can't help but be influenced by other generous people and their example of service and leadership and giving.
Well, it gives you you kind of go from, why not me?
Right.
And the attitude goes from, we can't do that here in Gaston County to, why not Gaston County? And I think, that's an example, what we were looking at on the wall there, right? That's an example of that. Is 20 years ago, would we have imagined that something like that, the Warlick YMCA would have even occurred here? We wouldn't have even imagine that, much less seeing it come to fruition, right?
And Stephen, I hope your listeners, there's somebody out there who probably has never thought, I could establish a donor advised fund, and that's a better way for me to take care of my charity. I'm already charitable, I already give to my church, but this is a way that I could do this. Or maybe they're thinking for the first time, wow, what should I be doing with my estate? Are there things that I love? So honestly, that just what you said, have you ever thought that really we're speaking to you today, or if you have a not-for-profit and you have some money set aside and you think it could be better invested, we're a place to help.
Right.
Or you're a not-for-profit that needs help. Come talk to us.
That's a great segue, because I know when I first got involved with Next Generation, but it was several years before I understood even what a donor advised fund was. So maybe touch on that. What is that specifically, so our listeners can kind of get a grip? Because I know exactly what that is now, but I didn't 20 years ago.
Well, I think Richard did a great job touching on it a minute ago, that it's kind of like a charitable banking account. You're putting money with us, whether it's stock, real estate, cash, an insurance plan, all different kinds of things can go into your donor advised fund, and then you can give it out over time. So, for example, I have a donor advised fund. My husband is in sales. It makes sense that some years we do a lot better than other years.
Sure.
We might want a tax write-off in 2018, but not in 2020, whatever it may be. We can give in 2018, take the full tax deduction, and give that money out over time to our church, to our alma maters, to any other nonprofit that we support in this community. So it's nice to have that nest egg that we're providing our philanthropy, that we know that no matter what the market says, we have a consistent flow of money that's going to the organizations we care about the most.
And the donor advised fund is invested, so it's growing. So and it's actually growing perhaps at a little larger rate than a bank account, but like a bank account, it's there and it's growing, and we can only give it away to not-for-profits or governmental entities that the donor wants us, and they just simply tell us, give this to whomever, and we cut the check from their fund, and it goes out to the not-for-profit.
And if you're going to be giving giving away money anyway, if you're supporting organizations, man, I know from my wife and it sure simplified what we were doing, right? Because we were doing all these different things, trying to keep up with it ourselves. End of the year, do we have all the paperwork? Do we have everything? So it really simplifies that.
One tax receipt.
Correct.
And then you have a donor portal, and you can see what you gave in previous years, and know the amount, and that you've already given.
And then the other thing, that it not only is it good for you as a donor because it simplifies your giving, but it helps your investment, and the small fee we get off of it at the Community Foundation helps us fulfill our mission. Right. So all the giving we do, everything we do, in part comes from people who trust us and who invest their money with us, and we get a small fee from that allows. So you're not only doing what's good for you, you're doing what's good for the community in establishing a donor advised fund, because you're helping the Community Foundation fulfill its mission.
Yeah, and just for what it's worth, my wife and I have a fund, and our GSM has a fund as well that we set up, years ago, and still utilize it yearly, of course, but maybe even quarterly, depending on what's going on, all the things that we support and are involved with. So I appreciate that. So a question I'd like to ask is, and your guys' involvement with the foundation, is there anything that stands out that the foundation has supported, has accomplished, has done, that you look back and say, wow, that really accomplishes the mission and what we're trying? Is there a specific example maybe that you can share? I mean, I can think of a bunch, right? There's, just like when we just mentioned, we happen to have something on our wall describing that. But I'll just start with you, Elizabeth, because you have been there officially in that capacity longer than Richard, but maybe not involved as long.
So one of the things that I see as part of our mission here is helping lead the nonprofit. So I'm going to give a couple of examples that are a little bit different than maybe the big names that you see across the community, because we've certainly been involved in those as well. But one would be Christ Community Baptist Outreach Food Ministry. When they first started over on Ransom, they needed $1,000 a year to sustain their program. Speaking with Mary Weber and her husband there, it was all volunteer run. They were trying to figure out how to do these fundraisers and auctions, and she was telling me about buying TVs and to auction those off in a raffle, and I'm thinking to myself, no, Mary, no, you don't pay for that. We go and get that donated, and then you sell the raffle tickets. And that's just a part of the foundation's job, is we're teaching people to fish as well. So we might be providing grant funding, which we've done a lot over the years, to that outreach food ministry, including new refrigerators and vans and things as they have grown. But We've also worked with them hand in hand. Mary and I drove around Gaston County. We went into Lowe's and Sam's Club and all the places and asked for donations that they could raffle off. And I think those pieces are so important to the thriving part of our community. And then, I'll let Richard speak to some of the larger things that we have funded and that he's been a big part of as well.
Well, and I love Elizabeth's point. We serve not-for-profits, small and large. But some of the larger ones that we can look at and think we have really made a lasting difference in Gaston County. You mentioned one of them, Stephen. We were a major funder to the Warlick YMCA. The Warlick YMCA's success touches the lives of so many people. And it's really also that success has been part of a really rebirth of our local Y system. Now the Belmont Y has now been renamed John McGill. A lot of Y systems throughout the country are financially struggling. Gaston County's Y system is rock solid, solvent, and growing.
But they still need your gifts. I'm on their board.
Yes. But just so I'd point to that. We made a large gift to protect the drinking supply at Mountain Island Lake about 2001, 2002. A lot of people don't really know that having a clean water is a big deal.
Yeah, we really take that for granted.
And we have a
as I'm drinking my water this morning.
And so I look at that as one of our transformative gifts. The thread trail. So I'm looking at a lot of big things that have made such a lasting difference.
Yeah, I'm on the Greenway system every single week with my F3 group. Every single week we are on some section of it doing something. Yep. So yeah, that's a great example. And listen, that's a good one that you and the three of us, we could talk about this question. What time is it? We could talk about this till supper time tonight, right? Yeah. So, but it is important because people in our community are seeing things every day, and they don't realize that the Community Foundation has touched it, right? And that's fine, but it's just important to know because I know and I see them, and so that's really interesting. So, in that classic question, it's been 5 years since we spoke specifically about the foundation here. That classic question is, is there something specific you're trying to accomplish? What did the next 5 or 10 years look like? Here at our business, we used to do that. We don't look out that far anymore, frankly, because everything changes so fast. We might look out 2 or 3 years now. But what do you guys envision the foundation looking like, or big plans, or anything for the next 5 to 10 years?
Elizabeth, you know what I'm going to say, don't you?
I do, and it's very similar to what GSM has coming up in a couple of years.
Yep. We have a 50th anniversary in
not quite 100.
2028, and so we do see that as an extraordinary opportunity to both celebrate the history of the foundation, those who have contributed to its past and its present, but also we also believe it's going to be a major opportunity for us to raise additional funds and increase the impact of the Community Foundation, because we'll be able to give more back to the community.
Right.
So that's a huge deal. Elizabeth knows I don't go anywhere without saying it. I'll probably say it again at the end of this podcast, but that's something we're very excited about.
Very good. Would you add anything to that, Elizabeth, or is that kind of the next big thing for that's going on?
It is the big thing, but we are having a lot of conversations of the money that will be raised during our 50th anniversary, what we will use it for. And we're really looking for those transformative projects out there. We want to continue funding the organizations that we always have and the needs that they have, but we also want to have a separate pool of money so that we can make more big impact projects happen. And we're excited about that.
All right, very good. So one thing we didn't touch on yet, and I just happen to know about it because my involvement in the board over the years, is scholarships. Mm-hmm. So I know that's a big part of what the foundation does and is involved with, and that might be one thing a lot of people aren't aware of, because I was lucky enough to sit on a couple of committees, grant committees for that, and so you really get to see, the impact, right, when you're able to do that. So maybe can you just touch on scholarships and how that might be connected to the foundation?
Yes, So we are in scholarship season.
Yeah.
It is in full swing. So it's all hands on deck right now. But last year we funded, I think, 118 students for different types of scholarships. We have about 30 different scholarship funds. And what that means is there's different criteria for each of those. But they're found on our website. They typically open in January. But these students are just incredible. And the opportunity to read and evaluate their scholarship applications and know what these students are doing, I feel like such a slacker every time I see them and hear
Yeah,
about
exactly,
them.
yeah.
But it's an incredible opportunity to give these kids a chance to have a brighter future. Maybe some of them would have made it anyways,
Right.
and maybe they have the parent support, but it never hurts to say that we believe in you too. You've done an excellent job in high school and your community, and we want to support you. This past weekend, we had a family that gives a scholarship away every year, the Barnard family. They're in Wellesley, Massachusetts, but they have roots here, and they all fly in from across
wow.
the country,
Yeah.
and they meet with these applicants for their scholarship. And they use it as a way to bring their family together to evaluate the students, talk about it, but it's a bonding experience for them and giving back and changing the course of a family's life like theirs was changed many years ago in Cramerton.
Wow, yeah, that's good. So you brought up a good point, though. Not had forgotten, but yeah, I remember reviewing those scholarship applications and thinking, what was I doing when I was young, right? I mean, these kids, I just finished confirmation. I was lucky enough to be asked to mentor a young man through confirmation at our church. And, I mean, he's in 9th grade, and the things he's reading, the things he's doing, I mean, I'm like, wow,
It's impressive.
I'm not
but
sure
it's
who was the
scary,
mentor. I'm not sure who the mentor was and who the confirmand
You learn
was,
just
right?
as much as you taught.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So listen, I appreciate that, because the scholarship is something that, the opportunities that, and of course that's also a lot of different businesses, families, individuals, have set up these scholarships too, locally for all kinds of things, right? And different colleges, different avenues of study, local, but not just local too, right? So
Right.
so it's a big range of opportunities there that maybe somebody doesn't know about.
And I think that's one of the examples when we talked about people who are trying to make lasting legacies.
Right.
For some people, the lasting legacy they want to give to is scholarships and changing young people's lives by giving them more opportunity. And so I'm glad you mentioned it, because it's a major way that people, as they're making estate gifts or businesses thinking about what they want to support, it's a major way that people impact positively our community through helping young people.
All right, so we're kind of winding this episode down, but a couple things that you got to make sure we cover. And of course, there's a couple of personal questions I'm going to make you guys endure, because that's just how we roll here at Gaston's Great. But is there anything I haven't asked that I should have asked, something you want to make sure you get across for our listeners about the foundation? I mean, you guys have covered a lot in a short period of time.
I'm repeating, the only thing I would tell our listeners is you can be involved
Sure.
in the Gaston Community Foundation. It's not a distant thing that is unapproachable. If they are generous, charitable people, then we can help them. If they are in an organization that has funds that are underinvested, we can help them and improve the mission of their not-for-profit. So I hope all your listeners will begin to think about, how can I become involved in the Gaston Community Foundation, and how can we help you with your not-for-profit?
Absolutely. Anything to add to that?
What I would like to add is that we all know Gaston's great. And most likely, if you're listening to this, you know Gaston's great too.
Right.
I want to encourage you to share this podcast with your friends who are not from here.
That's a great point.
We know so many people, and this community is changing rapidly. And the biggest challenge I think we all have is, how do we share what we do with the people that are moving into this community? So
that's a good point.
Please consider sharing this to a friend.
Especially the last few years, Gaston County has maybe been a little behind some of that growth of the other counties around Charlotte, but it's now here.
Yep.
And it's happening a lot. It's a quick, and so that's a great point. And people, young people are looking for that. I know that we see people we're talking to about employment. They're looking for more than just employment. right? They're looking for what are we doing as a company and what opportunities are available. So that's a great point. Of course, the last thing we'll do, we'll make sure we let you guys share how people can find out more information, website, all that. We'll make sure we cover that and how to get in touch. But as I said, got just a couple of questions to finish up. And Elizabeth, we may have asked one of these questions to you, but that was 5 years ago. So I can't even remember anything from 5 years ago, even last week, much less than 5 years ago.
Well, now I'm worried my answer will be inconsistent.
Oh, we're going to check. So the first question, I'll start with you, Elizabeth. I'll at least start.
Just to ease your nerves.
I'll start with you, Elizabeth, because Richard may need more time to think about this one. What is something, Elizabeth, that very few people know about you?
Ooh, okay. I love being outdoors and being by the beach and boating and those things, and I think most people know that.
Okay.
But I really love to fish.
Do you really?
I do. So fishing is one of my favorite hobbies.
Like freshwater, saltwater, whatever?
Saltwater mostly, but
Saltwater
freshwater
mostly.
too. I'll go to my parents' pond over by the Cloister area, if you're
Okay.
familiar in Gastonia.
Yeah.
But love fishing. I'm pretty good at it.
Wow.
I'm good.
Better than your husband?
Better than him.
Wow. So what is, you got to share, what's like the biggest, the best, the most, and is there video proof somewhere?
I do have a picture somewhere of a nice mahi that I caught.
Oh, wow.
Down in St. Martin or somewhere like that. But, I just love seeing my kids' faces now when I catch a fish.
Okay, that's cool.
Especially over their dad.
Yeah, wow, that's interesting. I probably wouldn't have guessed that, right? I just wouldn't have. I don't know why I wouldn't have guessed that, but that's interesting. Richard, how would you answer that one?
I guess most people don't know that I live on the same piece of property that Samuel Rankin first settled in 1766.
Holy moly.
And so, it's odd. And I think
that's rare these days too, probably.
Yeah. And so I truly have this long personal history in this county and my family in a particular place that I love. So
that's great. Yeah, I do. I appreciate that one. Because my mother's family was from Lucia, right? And I know a couple places where the land still is. As a matter of fact, there's a road in between Mount Holly and Stanley and Denver, John Fraser Road up there. That's my grandfather. So he has a road named after him. Most people don't know that. And I have an uncle who still lives on that same land. So
Lucia's close to where I live.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it's so a lot of people don't know Lucia. What is that?
I'm from Gaston County, and this is a foreign language.
Oh
here.
yeah,
you don't know Lucia?
I do not.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Elizabeth.
Stanley Lucia Road.
Yeah,
look it up. Yeah, because they live right off Stanley Lucia Road is where they are. So. Appreciate that. Couple more questions. Elizabeth, if you could have coffee with one historical person, who would it be and why?
Ooh.
That can be a tough one.
It is a tough one. Let's see. Okay, this one's probably not going to be considered historical. Tom Brady.
Wow.
I mean, he's out of the game, but I would love to pick his brain about everything that he has done.
So you just upset every non-New England Patriots fan that's listening.
I know.
I'm kidding.
But he was incredible, and just what
you could argue
he left in the NFL.
As far as accomplishment goes, he's probably the best. You could argue the best NFL player ever from what he accomplished, with no question.
Well, it also goes back to my sports interest. So, unfortunately, even with your daughter going into sports management, that was a path that I wanted to follow at one point in time. And
that's interesting. That's two I never would have come up with. So Elizabeth, wow. Richard, how would you answer that one?
Really, this one's caught me off guard. Honestly,
I did that on purpose.
I'd probably be speechless, but I wouldn't mind being able to talk to Jesus for a few minutes.
Yeah, that would be a good one. We have some questions, right?
I plan to.
Yeah, we have some questions.
And there are other people, Francis of Assisi is a person who I really admire. He loved the outdoors like I do, lived a very devoted life, and so I love his quote, and I try and include it in a lot of the letters that I send out to gifts that come from the foundation. It is in giving that we receive. And I just think that's just the best way to live your life.
Yeah.
So I'd like to talk to Francis of Assisi.
Yeah, that's a good one too. When I was younger, I don't know that I didn't understand or believe that probably, but boy, has that proven out to be true.
Yeah.
I mean, just got what I described with this young man I got to spend 9 months with on and off, a couple times a month, spending time with him. I was just blown away, and what I got out of it,
Who would you like to talk to, Stephen?
I think that has been thrown back at me, and I've used a couple different ones. Probably, well, you stole the obvious answer, but Abraham Lincoln, Winston Churchill, those are two people I've studied a lot, read a lot about them. In fact, my quote I'm going to share today, I always try to share a book recommendation or a quote at the end. I think it's a Winston Churchill quote this week, but the impact that those two men made, it's hard to quantify, the impact that they've made. And, for Winston Churchill, it's primarily just, we're going to overcome this regardless.
You can get through
and
it.
then my favorite quote from Abraham Lincoln, I'm gonna butcher it, but it basically says, I don't like that man very much. I need to get to know him better. I love that. I think that concept, he brought individuals from the opposing political party onto his cabinet so he could have opposing views and hear that. I just think we can learn a lot of lessons in our modern world from that type of outlook and that type of attitude. So I appreciate you saying that. But those two individuals come to mind. All right, last question for both of you. This is a podcast where we're trying to highlight great things happening in and around Gaston County, and we have a lot of great things happening in and around Gaston County. So Elizabeth, start with you. Besides the Gaston Community Foundation, why would you say Gaston County is such a great place?
I would say it's our outdoor atmosphere. We have the best trails and parks and community spirit, really, anywhere you go. Being in Belmont, I know that on Friday I drive to dinner and I see all of my friends and their kids down in the park, just naturally together. And it's such a fun spirit that you don't get other places. Yeah,
I agree. And we are just lucky, too, where we're located. Anyway, I could get the mountains in 2 hours. I mean, and what are the odds of a county like ours having Crowder's Mountain?
Yeah.
Just right in the middle of it. And then you drive, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, you're at Lake Wiley or whatever. So, it's terrific. So I appreciate that. We do have a unique outdoor spaces here. Richard, how would you answer that one?
I first of all, I would second what Elizabeth said and add just our collection. We've got 2 major rivers, Piedmont Mountains. We have more land protected by the Catawba Lands Conservancy in Gaston County than in any other county in their footprint. So our natural assets are unusual. I would point out a second thing that people probably aren't aware of. We have 14 municipalities. Yeah. It's very unusual for a county, and it's because of our textile past, to have that many municipalities. So you got small towns with history, with old buildings. You can't buy that.
Yeah, it's unique.
And so as we look to our future, those 14 municipalities are going to draw people in because they want to walk down that main street. They want to get a cup of coffee at a real place. And so I think our communities and our municipalities there's really, I don't know that there's another county in North Carolina that has 14 municipalities. We're like top of the list. Yeah. And so it's a huge asset we have.
Yeah, I agree. And I appreciate you sharing. I don't know that anybody has shared that one on 187 episodes. So that's pretty good. And again, I agree. It's unique. So guys, this has been great. I love the Community Foundation. I love the work y'all do. Please share. How can our listeners find more information? If they want to, hey, somebody's out there, you know what? I like this idea of a donor advised fund. Just tell them, share what they need to do and how they can find more information out.
We want to hear from you. So you can call us at 704-864-0927, or you can email us. Go to our website, which is www.c as in cat, f as in Frank, gaston.org. We'd love to hear from you.
And I just would echo that, and they can pick up the phone and call Elizabeth or me if you have a specific question about something charitable or about a not-for-profit and how some help you might need with your not-for-profit. We have resources to be able to help people if they're not-for-profit struggling or if it's succeeding. There are things that we can do to improve, and we're here.
Yeah, something, this just came to mind because I know it just happened recently, I think. I mean, another thing y'all do is like education. Didn't y'all just have a session for nonprofits here local? The reason I know that is I think my daughter was there because
We did.
She's works for Gaston Aquatics. So I think that's another example of something y'all are doing for outreach and education.
We had it down at First Methodist Church, and we have programs where we talk to not-for-profits, particularly small ones, about basic things they can do to strengthen their organization and make them more successful. So we have a lot of know-how about how a not-for-profit should work,
right,
and how it can be most successful. And that particular workshop, we had 85 people. I don't know how many not-for-profits.
Yeah, I saw pictures of it, and it was a full house.
Packed.
It looked like a full house.
And people were learning how to do it better.
All right.
Teaching them to fish. It's coming full circle here.
Absolutely, yeah, that's terrific.
That's pretty good, Elizabeth.
Yeah, that's good. Wow. By the lead fisherman over here. Something else that we didn't touch on is, where's the foundation located?
Well, we have a new building on New Hope Road. So if you've been driving down South New Hope Road, we are at 250 South New Hope Road, not 250 North. That's the mall. So if you've hit the mall, you've gone too far. Or either way.
It's a beautiful building.
It's a gorgeous building.
It is.
Across from B of A.
When was that finished?
In 2022.
All right, so I thought it had been since since you were on before. So yeah, that's obviously a big thing that has occurred that we didn't really touch on. But yeah, it's a great location. And
I would add that we lease space in the building too. So
great,
if you are looking for office space, we do have a couple of spaces that I think will be available soon, if not already. And the great thing about leasing that building, people might wonder when they drive by, oh, the foundation, that big building, what do they need all of that? Aren't they supporting the community? What are they doing? Well, the great thing is the people who are paying tenants in the building, that money goes into our grant cycle. So we now have more money to give away than we did previously. So it's actually helped our mission, but also improved the look of New Hope Road, because if you saw it before, it was the old Girl Scout building, and it was kind of a bunker. So
it was hard to see, actually, because it was so low. It was odd. It was kind of an odd
It
location.
Yes, so it looks a lot better now, and we're happy to have improved the community in that way, but also through our grants.
I would also add that space has conference rooms and meeting space, and any not-for-profit can schedule a time to use that space. So our building is a community asset for nonprofits that want to have a meeting. We're available.
Yeah, and we're recording this, what's today, Wednesday the 6th? I mean, when we're done, not long after we're done, I'm headed over there for a board meeting for a nonprofit I'm involved with. So, again, I've been there many times. It's a great location. And is it officially on the wall there? Is it the Duke Kimbrell Center for Philanthropy? Duke Kimbrell, excuse me?
Yes.
I was lucky enough to meet
Mr. Duke Kimbrell.
Thank you. Because that's important to get that exactly right. But Mr. Kimbrell's another individual I was lucky enough to meet and help show me the way, right? So I appreciate that. So, guys, I can't thank you enough for your time. And before we finish up, two things. I love the Community Foundation. I already mentioned that and all the great work you're doing. But both of you individually, our community is better off because the two of you are here. You both, I appreciate your comment, Elizabeth. I'm not sure I like it because it means I'm old. That maybe I am, somebody that's looking to look at what I'm doing now. But Richard specifically, you've been a mentor of mine, and you have shown the way for so many of us that what is required and what it really means to serve the community. So I appreciate that.
Thank you,
greatly. And y'all continue to do it. And so we're appreciative. So. I'm going to finish up. I mentioned I do a book recommendation or a quote. I must be slower reading now that I'm getting older because I haven't had a book recommendation in a while. But my quote for the week, I mentioned Winston Churchill. I love him and love his quote. And it kind of touches into a couple of things we talked about, especially when you're mentoring somebody. But he about courage, he said, "Courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen." Ooh. I'm afraid he's right.
Yeah.
and I am a professional non-listener, so I've got to do a better job with that. But people will, actually, I believe people will listen to you more the more you listen, actually. And we can, I think God gave us, I know people here at GSM are tired of hearing me say this, but God gave us two ears and one mouth for a reason. So we should probably listen twice as much as we speak. I've never regretted listening, but I've often regretted opening my mouth and inserting my size 13 shoe in there. I'm a professional. I'm a professional at that. So, to our listeners out there, thanks so much for taking the time to listen to today's episode. Please continue to spread the word if you can about the podcast, and please don't hesitate to contact us here at our email address, which is podcast@gastonsgreat.com. We are always looking for suggestions for future podcast topics and guests. You can find the podcast and subscribe at the website, gastonsgreat.com, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And please follow us on all our social media platforms. And as Amber reminds me, please give us a good 5-star rating. It helps gets us noticed. Thanks again to Richard and Elizabeth for being our guests today. Gaston's Great is produced and brought to you by Amber Hauser from GSM Services. I'm your host, Stephen Long. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and please keep coming back to hear more reasons why Gaston's great.
That was fun.
That was fantastic.